The sun blazed over downtown Chicago as Danielle Carter walked into the First National Bank of Illinois. Dressed in a crisp navy blue pantsuit, her posture exuded quiet confidence. She adjusted her sunglasses and approached the teller's counter, sliding a check across the marble surface. "I'd like to cash this, please," she said politely. The teller, Linda Whitmore, glanced at the check, then did a double-take. Her eyebrows shot up. $250,000. "Ma'am, this is quite a large amount," Linda stammered, already reaching for her manager's call button. "I'll need authorization for this." Danielle nodded, unfazed. She'd faced skepticism before. Gregory Hargrove, the bank manager, strode over with an air of self-importance. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, a Rolex glinting under the fluorescent light. He inspected the check like it was counterfeit, then eyed Danielle up and down, his lip curling slightly. "Miss Carter, is it?" he said, skepticism dripping from his voice. "This check is issued from a high-security military account. Are you sure this belongs to you?" Danielle kept her tone even, though a flicker of irritation sparked behind her calm eyes. "Yes. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army. That's my accumulated back pay after 2 extended deployments overseas." Gregory smirked, exchanging a knowing glance with Linda. "Military personnel don't usually just walk in off the street with checks this size. We'll need to verify this thoroughly." "Security." 2 uniformed guards materialized beside Danielle, their presence unnecessarily intimidating. She felt her pulse quicken, but years of training kept her expression neutral, her stance firm. Gregory picked up the phone, dialing with deliberate slowness. "Yes, I'd like to report suspected fraudulent activity at First National Bank downtown. A woman attempting to cash a forged military check. Over $250,000. He paused, locking eyes with Danielle. "She claims to be Army personnel, but let's just say I have serious doubts." Danielle's jaw tightened. "You're making a very serious mistake," she stated, her voice low and controlled. Gregory leaned across the counter, lowering his voice to a venomous whisper meant only for her ears. "We'll see what the FBI has to say about that, won't we?" Within 15 tense minutes, 2 FBI agents in dark suits entered the bank, their expressions stern and professional. The taller one, Agent Reynolds, scanned the room with sharp eyes. "Who's in charge here?" "We received a report of check fraud." Gregory practically puffed out his chest as he stepped forward. "Agents, thank you for your swift response. That woman," he pointed accusingly at Danielle, "tried to pass this fake military check. We found the whole situation highly suspicious." Agent Reynolds approached Danielle. "Ma'am, we need to see identification and ask you some questions." Danielle, maintaining eye contact with the agent, reached slowly into her leather portfolio. The guards beside her tensed, hands drifting towards their belts. But she pulled out only a slim, official-looking ID wallet and a folded set of orders. She handed them to Agent Reynolds. "Lieutenant Colonel Danielle Carter, U.S. Army Intelligence," she stated clearly. "The check is legitimate. It represents back pay and hazard duty compensation." Agent Reynolds opened the ID, studied it intently for a moment, then looked sharply at his partner. A silent communication passed between them. Then, without a word, both FBI agents snapped to perfect attention. Their right hands came up in crisp, formal salute. The sudden, synchronized movement cut through the bank's murmur like a knife. Every conversation ceased. Customers froze. Teller windows went silent. Gregory stared, his mouth slightly agape, the color rapidly draining from his face. What's happening?" he stammered, confusion and dawning horror mixing on his features. Agent Reynolds lowered his salute, his expression hardening as he turned to Gregory. "You just called the FBI on one of the most decorated intelligence officers in the U.S. Army," he stated, his voice carrying easily in the stunned silence. "Colonel Carter was instrumental in Operation Silent Shield, a critical counter-terrorism operation in Syria that saved countless lives. She holds the Distinguished Service Medal and 2 bronze stars. He paused, letting the weight of the words sink in. Furthermore, I happen to know she's currently on the promotion list for Brigadier General. Danielle finally allowed a small, tight smile to touch her lips as she crossed her arms, her gaze fixed on Gregory. Now, she said, her voice calm but cutting through the tension, about accessing my money? Gregory looked like he might faint. His earlier smugness had evaporated, replaced by sheer panic. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Linda the teller shrank back behind her counter. The security guards exchanged uneasy glances, suddenly looking anywhere but at Danielle. Agent Reynolds stepped closer to Gregory, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl. You are incredibly fortunate Colonel Carter doesn't choose to press charges right now for discrimination, false imprisonment, and malicious false reporting. Conduct like yours is exactly what the Bureau investigates under civil rights statutes. Danielle watched Gregory squirm for another moment, the silence thick and heavy. She took a deep breath, letting the righteous anger settle into cool resolve. Just cash the check, she repeated, her tone leaving no room for further discussion. Please. Linda, her hands trembling visibly, finally processed the transaction. The sound of the printer and the rustle of large denomination bills being counted were the only noises in the cavernous space. Danielle secured the money into her portfolio, her movements precise and unhurried. As she turned to leave, she gave Agent Reynolds a small, respectful nod. Thank you, gentlemen. He nodded back. Always an honor, Colonel. She walked out of the bank into the Chicago sunlight, her head held high, the heavy glass doors swinging shut behind her with a final, resonant thud. Inside, Gregory Hargrove stood rooted to the spot, his career imploding around him before his very eyes. News of the incident, captured on the bank's security cameras and leaked by an outraged employee, spread like wildfire. It sparked national debates on systemic racial profiling in banking, the invisible wounds and disrespect faced by veterans, and the abuse of authority. Investigations were launched. Gregory was swiftly suspended, then fired. First National Bank issued a public apology to Colonel Carter and implemented mandatory, nationwide sensitivity and anti-bias training. Months later, when Danielle Carter, now wearing the single star of a brigadier general, walked into the same branch to open a special account for a veterans charity she was founding, the atmosphere was palpably different. The new manager greeted her with profound respect. And as she walked through the lobby, every single employee in the bank, tellers, loan officers, security guards, stood silently at attention, their eyes fixed forward, a quiet tribute to the woman they had once so grievously wronged.